those people who are strong-willed, those people who are like, "Hey, this is how we're gonna do it. This is how it's gonna be done." They're really the ones who are going to push to that next level. Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso, and my experience and expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses to 7, 8, and 9 figures. I'm not telling you you should do this. I'm just telling you how I did this. So let's get into it today. If you're a medical entrepreneur, we'd love to have you in our medical mastermind at Charismatics. Go to joincharismatics.com. Von Kohler and I created that for the medical entrepreneurs out there who really don't have a community. We don't have anything, nobody helping us. And I remember nobody was helping me, kind of build this thing up. So it'd be great to get around like-minded people. We have, free membership, and you can check that out. And then we have multiple paid memberships if you want to get more involved in that. So love to connect with you guys. As always, I'd see you on Instagram. And as always, I have my co-host, Miss Amanda May here.
Thanks for having me,
Yeah,
as always.
yeah, first time.
It's always good to be a guest on your podcast.
Right.
Today we're going to talk about a topic that every business owner needs to hear, and business owner, entrepreneur, and anybody who's leading people needs to hear what we are about to talk about. And that's how you manage strong-willed employees.
If you've been in business long enough, you will have a bold, opinionated, super talented employee who might constantly push back and challenge you and makes you want to pull your hair out. But at the same time, they have insane potential. So, this episode's for you. We're talking about that.
Well, and the truth is the people aren't your problem. It's learning how to lead them, and that they can really become your biggest asset when you manage it correctly. So that's what we're going to dig into today.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. The worst thing you can do with these people, especially if you have a strong-willed employee, is absolutely shut them down. If you do, you're going to waste some of the best talent that you'll ever have, really shutting them down. These people are the ones who are going to make things happen, but leading them is a little bit different than what you would normally do. And in the same breath, throughout this entire thing, we're going to focus on how to work with strong-willed people. But remember, guys, if these people are not good culture fits, they're not good culture fits. Do not think that, oh, because I have a strong-willed person that isn't a culture fit in the end, I'm going to do these tips and tricks and it'll be okay. No, you still need a person to be a good culture fit. And if they're not, they're not.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. Because today we're going to break down the 5 key strategies for managing these people. But it's important to know that as a starting point, they're a culture fit. And then you use these 5 key strategies so that you can really harness the potential that they do have. And so jumping right in, number 1 strategy is recognizing that strong will is a strength. You don't want to punish it, but you want to direct it. And I know you're going to touch again on what you said a minute ago, but you're going to dig in a little bit more, and I think this is super important for people to understand.
Right. Yeah. The worst thing you can do, like we talked about already, is punish people for being strong-willed. A lot of business owners think, well, this employee is difficult. They're always pushing back. I need to put them in their place. No, you need to give them a lane or a direction to take all that energy and let them own it. Let them push forward. People with strong wills are resilient leaders. They're high-performing team members. If you help channel that energy. And again, you have to start early on. You have to start channeling that energy early on. You can't just allow them to do whatever they want again. But at the same point, you have to allow them to push. You have to allow them to grow. Because if they don't have that opportunity where you are or with you, they're going to go somewhere else. 100%.
Yeah, it makes me think about me because I'm strong-willed, but I'm not very vocal
Mm,
in it. Like, I'm not necessarily the kind of employee that's gonna push back verbally about stuff, because I know how to be led, but I also have an ownership and leadership mentality. So when something's given to me, I'm gonna own that. Like, And I think that's an important part. You have to let people feel, not just feel like it, but you have to let people be a part of the bigger picture and the mission, especially if they're strong-willed. So recognizing, even if somebody isn't vocal about their strong-willed nature, but you recognize that this person is a strong-willed person, putting that in the right place so that they can put that ownership mentality into something that they can own and really run with, and then allow them to do that. Now you're gonna have really, really high achieving people in your organization. Still shout out to me just now. But anyway, so recognizing that in order to get the buy-in from people is you really have to have them feel like they're a part of your mission. And those are gonna be people that are your all-inners, your ride or dies, no matter what happens, they're gonna be, like, on the journey with you.
Right.
Um, I think about I was just telling Sean this, I hate being told what to do. Like, I really don't like to be told what to do. I like to be directed
Mm,
in the sense of what's the expectation, and then let me meet that expectation. But, like, maybe too, like, if my mom tells me, like, "Take a picture and send it," if the baby's doing something, I will no, I'm not
yeah.
gonna do it.
Mhm.
No, not doing it because you just told me to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Brent's the same way. Brent is exactly the same way.
It's like
Mm.
one of the fastest ways to get me not to do something is to tell me
Yep.
to do it.
Yep. Brent is 100% the same way,
That's funny. I knew I liked him for a reason.
right?
No, but in the right way, like getting people to feel like they have a say in it, understanding why. Like, here's what the goal and the mission is. Here's why we want to do it. And then that person creates the forward momentum to make it happen for you. Now they believe in the work that they've put into it. It's from their heart, their passion, but it's for the greater good of the organization. Now you have a different level of commitment
Mhm.
from people.
100%.
And that's one way to direct with strong-willedness, but not punish it, and have things happen in your business that you wanna have happen. So, that sense of "do it because I said so" is never, ever gonna work. It's like, "Here's the problem. Now how do you feel like we can solve it?" Or, "Here's the opportunity. How do you think we can go about making this happen?" And as a leader, you have to know what your end goal is, right? You can't have them like off in no man's land doing whatever and it's not going to benefit the business. Like there's direction there. Like,
Right.
here's where we're going.
Yep.
Now, how do you see us being able to do this? And collaboration, I think, is probably the biggest thing that works for me. Like, I don't mind I like other people's input and direction, even in the sense of like, okay, well, here's one way we could do it. Well, here is another way we could do it. 'Cause there's just a lot of ways to get to the end result. And you often say this, you don't really care how it happens. You
Right.
just want it to happen.
Yep.
And so that's great, great leadership for people that are strong-willed,
Yep.
coming from the perspective of somebody who's very strong-willed. And so what's an example for you, like where you outside of me just giving the example on myself, where you have experienced somebody that's really strong-willed and you've allowed them ownership and they've just really thrived and taken off.
Well, there hasn't been, like, a specific example, but I'll say exactly I'll mirror kind of what you said, is that when you give people the opportunity to have ownership, to take ownership, to be their own boss, to be a leader within your company, then they are going to respond better. They're going to, feel like they have a purpose there, and that's really all people want, is a purpose and being a part of something bigger than themselves, and the book Good to Great really talks about that as well, where the best companies were the ones that got ownership, or the staff felt like they had ownership, or they were part of something, that people listened to them, the company listened to them, and they were able to come up with good ideas and improvements, and they listened, essentially, in the end. And as a result of that, those companies became those good companies became great
Mm.
companies, really. And it was, um really telling to see that. in that they had the people who were strong-willed there. They said that the corporate meetings of those were a lot of arguments and back and forth and discussions and stuff like that, and at the end of the day, everybody was on the same board, everybody was on the same page, and then they went out and executed, but during it, they did have a lot of strong-willed people who felt very, strongly about their way of doing things, and that's what made them better as a company, not just individually.
So that takes me into like our second point is directness is not disrespectful, but it's setting ground rules. Like you want people to be direct. I feel like especially men are so much more direct. Usually it's like you say what you need to say. There's no fluff. There's no sugarcoating it. It just is what it is. Here's the directness in it. But knowing that there's a line between people who can be direct and then also disrespectful, and that being direct doesn't mean somebody's being disrespectful. However, if you do notice somebody's disrespectful, then you have to manage that in a different way and set some ground rules around like, here's how I expect to be spoken to, but please speak your mind. Just there's a difference in how that comes across. So from a leadership perspective and from you managing a lot of different personalities, how do you see that's different and how would you manage that difference?
Um, Disrespect is in a situation where an employee, a team member says, "Hey, you're a shitty person. You're a shitty boss." Directness is more like, "Boss, this is a shitty solution or a shitty situation that we're in. We got to fix this." And I like to think of directness as almost you and me versus some other third party
Mhm.
versus we're against each other. That's better on the directness, but a lot of times direct employees aren't being insubordinate. They're just being real with the situation. They're being real with how things are going. And as a result of that, things will come across more harsh than maybe they intended, or maybe they intended it to come across harsh. But really, in the end, you have to look at yourself and say, okay, well, are they being direct or are they being disrespectful? Is it just you and me and we're sitting in a room talking about this? It's probably not so much disrespect as being direct and at the same time, trying to figure it out. And maybe they're frustrated with the problem as well. Versus if it's in a public group and they're just trying to go at you in a public group in front of everybody, in front of your team or your company, then that's more being disrespectful and you have to shut that down. So you have to have
Mhm.
boundaries. You should set boundaries and you should give them rules. Like if you want to challenge me, that's fine. You could do it in my office, not in front of the whole team. If you have feedback, bring it to me. You know, don't bring it to the break room. And one thing that Brent and I had to work through last year was certain executives bringing their problems to other executives instead of directly to Brent and I. And as a result, it caused an undermining in the company. And, because of that, it was, it ended up with people having to be removed from the company because there was just an underground disrespect there that caused issues with our staff. And if that's going to happen, well, you cut out the cancer. You can't be a part of this. So make sure you're focused on as a team member, you're focused on being direct, not disrespectful. And as a boss, you're ascertaining whether this person is being disrespectful or direct.
Yeah, I mean, strong-willed employees really actually do thrive with structure. It's just the structure that makes sense,
Right.
something that they believe in that, like, I feel like strong-willed people tend to be more, direct in their approach with stuff, so it's like, it's gotta make sense. If it makes sense, then all good. They're gonna go that direction. So when you're asking for respect and setting boundaries, those things make sense. It's like it makes sense that you're not gonna disrespect me in front of our other team. And when you talk about a cancer that has to get cut out, there's still symptoms of that cancer even after it's been gone. It's like there's a lot of healing that needs to happen within an organization. So if you allow somebody to be disrespectful, you are hurting your entire company. And so harnessing directness, but not disrespect is like, I feel like you can feel when going back to the beginning, you said if somebody's not a culture fit, somebody who is disrespectful, it's likely they're not a culture fit. If you maybe once have to guide them like, "Hey, this is a boundary." But if you're constantly having to set boundaries with people because they're crossing the line of disrespect, it's highly likely they're just not a culture fit.
Mhm.
Because somebody who's emotionally intelligent knows the difference between me coming to you with a problem privately in a respectful manner and me blatantly disrespecting you in
Mhm.
front of people.
Yep.
So, I feel like as a leader, you would know that too. You do need to set boundaries, but if you're having to set boundaries with the same person over and over and over again, they've crossed the line. They're probably not a culture fit.
100%.
So don't keep those people. It's going to create cancer within the organization. And then it's like the toughest people, they often are the ones that care the most.
Right.
It's like because their heart and soul is in it so much that they can be tough and that strong-willed nature, it's like that comes with a lot of care and it comes with a lot of passion for what they do. So recognizing that those people are a great asset in your organization, it's like you want that. You want those strong-willed people. People that are just kind of like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool. If we succeed, we
Yeah.
succeed."
Right.
Great. That's not going to help push the organization forward. Those are going to be people that you need on the ground maybe doing things, but
Yeah.
what's going to push the company forward? And it's like the toughest people
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, the most difficult people are gonna be the ones that are the ones who care a whole hell of a lot. Yeah. And unless somebody cares a whole hell of a lot about something, it's never gonna change. No.
Mm,
Dr. Seuss wrote that a long time ago. So, it's true. Otherwise, they would just shut up. They would do the bare minimum. They would just show
mhm.
up, do their 9 to 5, go home, not care. Now, those people who are speaking up, who are like, "We gotta do better here, we gotta do better here," or "This needs to be improved upon here," because they fucking care. They care about the system. They care about the X, Y, and Z to improving it. They care about that a lot. And those people who are the challengers, who are the people who are pushing, a lot of times they will be the most loyal people. They're the ones who want you to win the most because they want to win the most. And so they're attached to your ship. If you go down, they go down as well. So if they're still sticking around and they're trying to push you, it's because that they're trying to make it better and they've been through it or they see that they could get there with you and they're trying to help you.
Yeah, and talking about they've been through some things. What do you feel like, or is there a correlation with people that have like that entrepreneur mindset, but maybe they don't wanna have their own business, but there are people with an entrepreneur mindset within your own company. It's like their strong-willed nature. Do you notice that there being a connection there? I'm just kinda curious, like, are the most strong-willed employees, do they bend more toward, like, an entrepreneur kinda mindset?
Yeah, I think so because entrepreneurs, I think, want to bet on themselves. They want to continuously work and strive and improve to be better and consistently betting on themselves is what they love to do. So that's I think those people who are strong-willed, those people who are like, "Hey, this is how we're gonna do it. This is how it's gonna be done." Um, they're really the ones who are going to push to that next level. They're gonna be entrepreneur mindsets for sure.
Just within your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are gonna be the people you can go to war with, because
Yeah,
I think they know that there's ups and downs in business, and they know that there's, good times and bad times, and sometimes shit suck. Excuse my language. Sometimes things suck, and sometimes
yeah, because we
things
never
are
cuss on
go
this podcast.
I think I said the F word in the last one, but I was like, "I probably shouldn't say that. I should leave that up to you."
There you go.
Uh, it was just for emphasis, you know?
There you go.
Um, but I it's like I mean, we kinda touched on this already. How do you tell the difference between somebody who is strong-willed and somebody who is toxic? Can you tell that right away? Or do you feel like that kinda comes out over time? 'Cause there's gotta be strong-willed people you've experienced that you're like, "Oh, this is great." And then maybe you start to realize, like,
Yeah.
maybe this is not so great."
Well, I think it happens pretty quickly. And quickly is relative. I would say within 6 months you should know. If not, if you're interacting with that person every day, you should probably know within a few months, like 2 to 3 months, whether that person is actually being toxic or are they just strong-willed. If you're not directly involved with them, it might take 6 months to find out. But at
Mm,
some point you'll find out whether or not they're strong-willed because they care and they want to improve, or they're just being that asshole toxic person who is negative all the time, who just wants to fight everything that you say and wants to just be right essentially all the
mm,
time. There's going to be a huge difference because a strong-willed person is going to get on board with the business and the mission and the vision. A asshole is just going to be completely different. Your toxic person is just never going to be on board with the mission, never be on board with the vision. They're going to disagree with everything, while a strong-willed person might disagree with some things, but they're still going to show up every day. They're still going to be on board with the mission and the vision.
It reminds me of the book that we read, I think it was 2 years ago
Mm,
at our corporate conference, or that you gave everybody, Relentless Solution Focus.
mhm.
I feel like strong-willed people that are on board with the mission, they are gonna come with directness, but they're also gonna come with solutions.
Right.
Where toxic and toxic mindset is, like, negative to what you just said, where it's just complaining all the time or
Yep.
nagging all the time, but
Yep.
there's no real solution, or they're not a part of fixing what they're finding.
Yep.
Because that's another thing, like, "Oh, you need to fix this and this and this," but it's like, well, you're pointing it all out, but you don't own any of the actual process to make it better.
Mhm.
So, like, that's not really gonna work.
Yep. No, you're right.
So, yeah, I think it's the mindset that they come with is where you can really tell whether somebody's on board for the long haul. And the the next point is really about smart people needing a teacher, not a director. When you surround yourself with smart people in your business, they just need some reasoning. They need to understand, and it needs to be logical. And I think smart people, it's like they're looking for a teacher, not somebody to direct their every step. Um, in You have levels of authority within your business. You have your executives, your leadership, but then you have these really smart people, let's say these strong-willed people that they're looking for the direction, but they're not necessarily looking for, here's exactly how I want you to take every step.
Mm.
Um, and it's like recognizing that sometimes though, that person needs to just trust. They have to be willing to trust the process too. Like, if you come to me and say, "Just trust me on this," like, we're working on the skincare line, if, we have a call, even like the call I had with Brent last night, where he's got these questions, he's like, "What about this, and what about this?" It's like, if he were to say, "Just trust me on this is how we need to do it," cool. Like,
Mhm.
there has to be a level of that too.
Right.
And I think that makes strong-willed people know how to lead, but they also know how to be led. And there's a place for both
Right.
in that.
I agree with that. Yeah, and strong-willed employees, to a degree, to what you're saying is that they're highly intelligent when because they're able to discern whether or not, like, okay, is this person somebody to be trusted? Is there somebody? Do they have a history of winning or a history of making good decisions? And do they know more than me? Okay, great. You can leave me. I will follow what you say. And again, they're not gonna do well because they said, "Because I told you so." But there's gonna be a degree there saying like, "Hey, just trust me on this one. This is gonna be beneficial for us." And you're gonna do it. You're gonna follow it. And because a lot of times, highly intelligent people, they need the reasoning. They need to understand the logic behind things or why we're doing things. And I think that's important to ask a lot of whys. Like we said, having that reasoning will help you focus on why you're doing this. I'm doing this because of X, Y, Z. But if you never teach them why, they're not going to have that respect for you. Versus if you do have a history of teaching people why and have a history of uh, success and have a history of improving that person's life, then if you say, well, look, just try it. I, you know, I don't have a reason for you right now, but just try it, then you're more apt to be open and intelligent about it and say, okay, I'll follow here.
Mhm. Yeah, and strong-willed employees know or people know, like, it's all a learning anyway. So
Right.
even if something turns out a little bit different, like, you both have learned in the process, and that was worth it. So it's like even following the lead, it's like whatever happens, even if it doesn't happen like we thought, we both are gaining in the end anyway, because 'cause we're all getting better
Yep.
from learning this thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, explaining why to your team is important to get them on board. And that's part of transparency that we've talked about is that it is important to tell your team where you're going, what you're doing, while at the same time making sure that they understand why. Why are you doing X, Y, and Z? And it's important to have that and to show that because then you're gonna get those strong-willed people on board because they're gonna understand why. They're gonna understand what direction you're going in and that there is a purpose to what they're doing.
Yeah, we have that, suggestions, ideas and suggestions page in our, group chats, and, people who are willing to put an idea and suggestion out in front of the whole organization, they have to have some willpower there because you're it's vulnerability, like, you're putting your idea out for the whole company to see, and you're hoping that people are like, "Oh, that's a great idea."
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And I've seen in that where you've even been able to come in and say like, "Hey, we've tried this before. That doesn't really work, but let's keep working on the idea."
Mhm.
Like, so it's a matter of like trusting the fact that you've been there, done that. We've tried that. That's not gonna work, but let's keep working on how to make this better.
Mhm.
So, I think that's another way. It's in also how you come down from, like, the leadership standpoint and say, like, "I know that's not really gonna work," but you're not, like, shutting the person down or obviously, like, as a leader, it'd be terrible leadership if you were like, "That's a terrible idea," you know? Like, you wanna direct it. So if you're a leader and you're listening, don't tell people they have a bad idea, just direct it like, "Hey, no, that's not gonna work because 'cause we've been there, done that, but let's keep working on how we can improve in this area."
Right.
So people feel heard and you get more, um, commitment into your company that way too. Because strong-willed people, they'll comply for a little while, but like you said, they'll find somewhere where they can, really thrive and be committed to something, and if they wanna do it within your company, this can be your greatest asset. That's really what this conversation is about. And so even if those people drive you crazy, because 'cause I'm sure they've probably driven you crazy, I hope I've never driven you crazy, but, if I have, it's fine.
Right.
But they make you a better leader, and when you really have to break down I think about this when I started teaching too. Um, when I years ago, it's been a long time now, maybe 15 years ago, when I first started teaching, I was asked to, be a trainer for a company called Temp2, and it's a really high-end, popular airbrush company. It was originally designed to cover up tattoos, which, like in Hollywood, they would use it for color correction. So it was like this airbrush makeup that really could cover almost any tattoo for TV and film.
Mm.
And then they started making traditional makeup. But they had a partnership with a lot of the schools, and so what they did is they hired me to come in, they flew me to New York, which is totally fun, and I got to train at their headquarters, and then they started flying me into, like, major cities where they had these top performing beauty schools,
Mm.
and what I would do is train the trainers on how to train the students,
Mm.
and so that made me an incredible teacher. Just that, yeah, like, year-long process of being at all these schools, when I had to explain how and why I did it,
Mhm.
I learned what I was doing, like, to a whole new level. Like,
Right.
just to do it is one thing, but when you can explain step by step, here's why I'm doing it, how you mix it, why it works, why the results look the I mean, it's like you really have to know your shit.
Yeah.
And so I think when you have people coming to you and they're strong-willed and they're asking why, and you have to keep explaining why you're doing it, why you made the decisions you made, why it's working, why it doesn't work, it makes you a better leader. You're
Absolutely.
teaching. It's
Yep.
like teaching over and over and over and over again.
Absolutely. When you have people that are consistently asking why, and you have to answer those questions, you're going to be just better at what you do. 100%.
It's not necessarily easy.
No, it's not easy at all. No, it's not easy at all. But you will be better because you're gonna have to go and find the why, like find why this, why that, why this, why that. Like you're gonna have to go and find why. And as a result of that, you are going to be a better leader. Like,
Mhm.
it'll force you to communicate better. They'll force you to make a stronger team. They'll push you to take your business to the next level. Great teams aren't found. They're built and they're not built easily at all, like you said. So those types of people that asking why consistently and having people uh, that who are going to challenge you to be better as a person and better as a leader, it's going to push your business to the next level.
I wanna stop on that point for a second.
Mm.
So, you said it's not easy to build a team.
Mhm.
You have experienced incredible growth over the last 5 years. Um, what has your experience been like building the team that you have? And, like, what I just feel like it would be super valuable for people listening, and that's, like, one of the hardest things to do is build a really good team. I think we should talk about that for a minute. Like, what for somebody who's, like, struggling with building a team or wanting to scale their business and they know that that's like the next step. Like, what would you want someone to know about the process and about the journey that you've been on in building a really great culture, which in turn means a really good team to actually grow your business?
We'll probably start with the core values. Start with the core values and focus on those and getting those right and hiring people who live and breathe and uh, want to be a part of your core values and then go out and find people like that. That's really just that's the number one skill that you need is the
Mhm.
ability to have a culture, the ability to stick to your core values and just push with your core values. And you're gonna it's again, it's not easy. I think there's just a bunch of ins and outs, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it either. But I started with the core values, and we hired based off that, and then we trained and trained and trained and trained, and we continued to try and train and improve that process of getting these people on board, and then finally just make sure that you have a direction in which your business wants to go. Start with the end in mind. Start with where you want to go, and focus on that.
Yeah. Well, I just felt like it was important to mention that.
Yeah,
You know? So we're talking
absolutely.
about strong-willed employees. Well, you don't get to strong-willed employees until you're building something people wanna be a part of,
Yeah,
especially strong-willed people.
yeah,
They wanna be a part of something that's making making an impact, and they're going somewhere, like you said. They can see
absolutely,
themselves going somewhere with you.
absolutely.
Um, core values are why your core values, the company core values, was one of the first things that I noticed in our meeting. Like, after we met and then an initial meeting, and then we had a meeting, work-driven meeting. You handed me a card, and it was Salesforce, I think, at the time,
Mhm.
um, right before maybe everything shifted over to Genesis or maybe during transition when everything was shifting. You still had the Salesforce cards.
Mm,
I remember it was black and blue,
mhm.
and it had the core values on the back of it.
Yeah.
And I've lived with my own personal core values. I write new core I reevaluate my core values every year when I do my integrity course, like what's changed for me, who am I, where am I going, what's important to me now, things like that. Um, so to actually it was the first time ever that I had had a business meeting that somebody handed me their core values. And as a person that is driven by my own core values, to see a company that had core values that they were putting out there, I was like, "Hmm, this is a company I'm gonna pay attention to,"
Yeah.
you know? And so don't underestimate the power of that if you're listening. Start with the core values. And a great book, uh, that helps people do that is the EOS model,
Mhm.
where he talks about that a lot.
Yeah, he does.
And, so if you need to understand how to write your core values, it's probably a ton of content online. Listen to our other podcasts because we have whole podcasts about core values. But also the EOS model is a great framework that you can start to build from. But kind of wrapping this up and thinking about strong-willed employees and them making you a better leader, I think forcing like, it forces you to be better when you surround yourself with strong-willed people. Um, and they're gonna be the ones that push forward themselves and the company and you, and so, uh, be ready to be a little bit uncomfortable,
Right.
but you're gonna go to the next level when you surround yourself with these people. Um, and I would say my final question I'd like to leave everyone with is what do you feel like the number one skill for a leader is to be able to manage strong-willed people successfully?
Hmm. I think that you just have to have confidence in that where you're going and what you're doing is the right thing. And I think strong-willed employees they'll feel that, and as a result, they'll follow you. They'll be a part and they'll listen to what you have to say or your opinion or your direction on things because they understand that you have a mission and you're confident in that mission and they'll follow you because of that. So start to work with yourself first. Start to work on your own confidence, your own success. And success doesn't mean that your business is huge or you're successful financially. Success means that you are doing the things that you say you're going to do and, you know, keeping the promises to yourself first. And then other people will see that and they'll follow.
Right on. So if you are listening and you want to dig in more, you want to learn how to work on yourself and start to build these qualities that we talked about today, leadership, at the aspect of leadership that helps you develop and work with strong-willed employees so you can attract more of those in your company. Um, Check out Charismatics. So you can find that it's the medical mastermind that Dr. Alex Spinoso and Von Kohler are doing, and it is at dralexspinoso.com/charismatic, join charismatics. There's a way to sign up for free. There's some paid courses, but if you're interested in doing the work on yourself so that you can truly become the person that you need to be to have strong-willed employees and see all of this, the dreams and goals that you have push, or if you're just a strong-willed person like myself and you're wanting to align with the right kind of company so that you can live at your full potential, then check out all of the free resources on Dr. Alex Spinoso's website, 'cause there's a ton of stuff there. Check out our other podcasts, share, like, comment, tell us all the things that you got from this or anything else that you want to hear. So, thank you. All of that to say, thank you for listening to the Spinoso podcast. And we are looking forward to connecting with you next time.
All right, guys. Have a good one.